butts enough.
I'm Rod, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.
Start swimming and help other people build rafts and ride the thing, in the direction that it could go.
Thrive, not just survive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start to understand, what does it actually take to exist in the digital economy? You need a digital wallet. You need to show you've solved problems. You need to have worked with people who are not like you, who may not come from where you come from or have the same beliefs about who should be in a particular building, that's painted white.
All right, folks, that's Simon. Simon and his partners run Leaf Lab, and they are our new sponsor. I wanted to introduce them today, and it's a perfect day to do that. You know what? Grab your coffee, grab your tea and your kombucha. What we've got going on today, it's a really interesting day, because today we're going to say something out loud that a lot of people are thinking, but very few leaders are willing to admit. AI isn't failing your business. Leadership strategy is. Now, I know that might sting a little bit, but if you've been watching what's happening across companies right now, it's true. Everywhere I go, I hear the same story. Rod, we tried AI. We piloted some tools. We bought a platform. We ran a proof of concept, and then nothing. Projects stall. Teams get confused. Let's see, risk and compliance start waving red flags. Never want that, right? Executives then start to lose patience, and suddenly AI becomes the problem. When in reality, AI just exposed a problem that is already there. Lack of clarity, right? Lack of ownership, lack of execution. And that's why today's conversation matters, because our guest does not deal in hype. He doesn't sell magic buttons, and he definitely doesn't believe AI replaces leadership. RJ Grimshaw believes AI reveals leadership. RJ is a former president and CEO of Unify Equipment Finance. Very important, right? And while a lot of people talk about transformation, RJ actually did it. Under his leadership, Unify didn't just grow, it fundamentally changed how it operated. Assets scaled from 14 million to well over 250 million. And while that was happening, costs were cut by 30%. A culture of ownership replaced a culture of permission. And instead of innovation theater, RJ built something that actually worked. An international intrapreneurship operating model called Unify 2.0. No buzzwords, you don't need that. No consultants camping in conference rooms. That's crazy. No endless pilots, just execution. Fast forward to today, and RJ is working with CEOs and leadership teams across industries who are staring straight into the face of what I call AI chaos. Too many tools, too many vendors. I hate this one. Too many dashboards. Drive me nuts. Too many options. And no clear answer to the most important question of all. What problem are we actually solving? That's where this conversation goes different. Because instead of asking, what can AI do? RJ asked this: what should leadership do first? Strategy, governance, maybe metrics? Here we go. Ownership. He teaches leaders how to choose one high-value workflow, align the right people around it, and ship real results in, say, 12 weeks, not 12 months. We're going to break down his ABLE framework today in plain language. ABLE: analyze, build, leverage, execute. Not as theory, but as an operating model leaders can actually use. We'll talk about what human in the loop really means without slowing teams down, okay? How to think about AI governance and risk in a way that actually holds up under an audit. What operating metrics CEOs should be watching weekly, not annually, okay? And how to make build versus buy decisions that don't lock your company into the wrong future. And let me be very clear who this episode is for. This is not a cool AI tools kind of episode. This episode is for CEOs and founders who want results, not demos. Drive me nuts. Operations, finance, credit, and risk leaders who need clarity, not chaos. Product and data teams who are tired of building things nobody uses. And professionals who want plain language, real cases, and frameworks that work in the real world. RJ has originated over $400 million in financing. He served on national boards. He's been recognized as a Baker's Dozen CEO. And now through the AI CEO and ABLE leadership, he's helping leaders avoid the trap too many companies are falling into right now. Thinking AI is a technology problem. It's not. It's a leadership problem because AI doesn't fix systems, right? It accelerates them. Without strategy, AI accelerates confusion. Without governance, AI accelerates risk. Without ownership, it accelerates blame. AI does, right? But with the right operating model, AI accelerates clarity, execution, growth. That's the conversation we're having today. So if you're a leader who's tired of hype, tired of pilots that never land, right? And ready to talk about AI the grown-up way, you're in the right place. This is Insights and Straight Talk with Rod Duff and the ever-present producer, Barbie. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube at Rod Duff 1939 and join us on Substack at insightstraighttalk.substack.com because you're not just watching a show. You're joining a national conversation about leadership, about accessibility, and rebuilding the great middle class with clarity, courage, and straight talk. All right, folks, with no further ado, let's bring RJ in. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I appreciate that intro. And I would start off with, I feel for a lot of leaders. And the reason why I have empathy for leaders is that this happens so fast.
Oh, by the way, RJ, sorry to, and I can't wait to get into that part of it because that's what the whole case is. We already have 134 people on. So I just wanted to give you a little update there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's tough for leaders in a lot of different ways. AI is happening so fast, like you just alluded to, and the people coming in to the job market and recently coming in and still coming, they're a different type of person and in a different world. And that person was grown up in a world that you and I have much less access or comfort level with. Yeah. So tell me your story, RJ. Go ahead. I won't interrupt you for a little bit, I promise.
No,
but I will every once in a while.
Yeah, it's all good. I appreciate it. And that's the power of these type of podcasts. When you have great engagement and conversation, that's where, we can get the most value out of it. So I arrived where I did here. I'll give you a Cliff Notes version. I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. My dad's business plan actually hangs in my office wall here from 1983. So I chuckled a little bit when someone complains around interest rates, because at that time their interest rate was at 12%, and they were able to leverage the 12% and turn that into a $50 million business with him and two partners in the construction rigging company. So I fell into corporate America by accident. I owned my first business at 23. However, unfortunately, my father passed away at 61, and I was 29 at the time, and I had two young boys, still married 35 years. And I made the conscious decision that I needed to get into corporate America primarily for health benefits and a little bit of structure. We were running a bar restaurant.
Did you say, I'm sorry. Did you say for HEPA benefits? For
healthcare benefits.
That you needed healthcare benefits.
Correct. With two children,
Go ahead.
With two boys, and
two boys, yeah.
and I wasn't sure, when I first entered it, I wasn't sure I'd stay in it, but where I found myself was in the equipment financing industry, where I was surrounded by entrepreneurs and helping other business owners finance their equipment. So that filled my soul from a perspective of working with other entrepreneurs. So I did the corporate climb of the ladder, and I ended up as CEO at the last 10 years at Unify Equipment Finance, which is an amazing story because it was allowed me to really push the innovation and entrepreneurship that I became so fond of in terms of growing a company. And really what drives a lot of that is just a desire of constant and never-ending learning. And that's what led me to AI. In 2022, I invested in a company by the name of Catapult AI. Unfortunately, timing is everything. And Catapult was 1 year too early in terms of the premise of the tool that they were building. A lot of entrepreneurs are familiar with EOS and Traction. This was a tool to support business owners with facilitating EOS within their organization. My goal was to take that and offer it to our 6,000 business customers that we have financed equipment for as an additional tool and a value add to their organization.
What does it look like? What does it look like? So if I'm I know it was too early, but what did this tool look like? How did it implement? What was its activity? Its agent, what was its agent doing?
Wonderful question. The agent at the time was supposed to take the world's best KPIs from across the world, take them for that certain NIC code or SIC code, and then populate them with the human element starting first. Peter Fuller, who was the founder of it, had the right idea where you start with the human, then you build out the KPIs around your level 10, your big rocks, and things of that nature. Well, lo and behold,
okay, hold on, RJ. I told you you're the expert. I'm gonna stop you on some of these because I'm familiar with some of this terminology. But can you just give us a one-line definition of the KPIs and the different metrics that you're referring to? What do they mean to people who may not be working in that world every day but are heading towards it? Give some definition behind that, would you please?
So I look at a KPI, and this is just my opinion, and it's probably not what Webster Dictionary says, but a KPI, what it does is you can layer over your business to ensure that you're doing the right activities with the right metrics that you're measuring to ensure that what your gut is telling you typically is accurate. So it's just the data behind it. So we would layer
It's kind of like a Kevlar vest. It's kind of like a Kevlar vest. It's wrapped around your company, and it says either do the right things or I'm not letting you buy.
Exactly. And then there was an accountability component to it where the team could see the accountability piece of every person within the organization. We were able to do that at Unify primarily because we were very transparent with all of our team members. And before I move on, I really want to go back to Unify and really what we honed in on to drive what we accomplished. It wasn't RJ. It was the incredible people that I was able to surround myself with, that we were focused on having that entrepreneurship mindset. And an entrepreneur as 5 traits. One is they're a life learner. Second, they're going to give extra discretionary effort. Third, there's alignment with your mission and vision and what you're doing on a daily basis. Third, they're passionate just about life. Typically, they have a lot of ideas, very passionate. And the last thing is they take ownership. Because if you're an entrepreneur in an organization, typically you are influencing other people to do certain things that aren't on their job description. So it's almost a sales role to a certain degree.
So intrapreneurship is similar to entrepreneurship, in that entrepreneurship is the individual building something. Intrapreneurship is the individual or individuals building something within somebody else's organization, but taking ownership and having that entrepreneur spirit. Is that where the intrapreneurship comes from?
Spot on. And I should have defined it before we jumped into it, where you're exactly
yeah, but
right,
I got a
Roger.
chance. See, but I get a clip there, and then right as I paused, you said, the expert said, spot on. You know, I'm going to clip all that.
I love
out.
it. I love it.
I'm going to pat myself on the back.
And really why I love talking around entrepreneurs, because people could self-identify and they should champion that they're an entrepreneur. There's an additional value when you put on your resume that you are an entrepreneur. People now, it's interesting as I continue to speak around this and things of that nature. We did an A/B beta test in terms of our job descriptions. So one job description would not have any mention of entrepreneurship for any role in your organization. It doesn't matter what it is. The other job description would have entrepreneurship mindset required. The quality of the candidates between A and B, incredible. Our B candidates off the charts, because they wanted their voice to be heard and come in and make a difference. That's the difference also between a functional and vital employee. A functional employee will show up and do what they're expected to do, but there's never going to be any extra value. They're critical to the organization, all right? However, your vital employees, they can look at your processes, and this is where it's important with AI, and we'll tie AI in with this. It's important to understand the ins and the outputs, just like a prompt. When you're giving contextual knowledge to a prompt, you have to understand that output, and that's where that human in the loop comes. So we're jumping around a lot of different topics, but it really all comes together.
But we have to jump around at this point, because it is got to be folded into itself. Like you said, come together, and it's because of the times that we're in. We're already getting a lot of questions in here. By the way, did you see what Layla Film Law put? She's loving what you're saying. But the reason I kind of by the way, we've got 500 people on. That's typical about where we're probably gonna sit. But congratulations, you got a big fan club there.
Well, thank you for everyone joining.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important subject, obviously. But where was I going with that? It all has to be folded together, and it's because of the times we're in, because things are changing so much now. The human element's changing, the workflows. Now, the job descriptions, the actual work is going to change over time very rapidly. Who works where and doing what. And one of the things that you're getting to right now that really interested me, my son Brandon, he's in his 40s. He does a podcast like this, and he's been on mine a few times, and he talks about AI and you know, the things that this generation, his generation, and before, no, after, you know, younger and younger and younger, are all interested in this new way of life, because I don't know it. I mean, I didn't grow up in it. I do know a little bit about it. You know a little bit about it. We didn't necessarily grow up in it. So where I'm going with that is, he and I got into a conversation, I think about 3 weeks ago on an Open Mic Monday show. And that conversation was this: the jobs are going to change. They're not going to go away necessarily, but they're going to be evolved. So now you've got, when you're writing code, AI writes code faster. And that's kind of what you were talking about with that other company, right? So AI's got to be doing AI stuff, because it just makes more sense. So what you'll have now is you'll have a manager of those AI agents, right? Because there's still mistakes. You talked about putting in the human element and doing all that. That's where all that's got to tie together. Go ahead. I just wanted to inject that into this part of the conversation, because we're in a time where there's a lot of this going on. We're going out in all these different directions to pull it back together until life catches up to what's going on today, really. You know, probably the next decade or so, we're going to be doing a lot of this.
And it's going to just continue to change. And it's very interesting. I went to coffee yesterday morning with a good close friend of mine who's younger than me, who's an attorney here in Ann Arbor. And we get together every quarter and always every before the holidays to just break bread and give thanks. I told my wife last evening, it's interesting from a year ago, the conversation to what it is today relative to his perception and how he's using now AI. And also there's a negative aspect to it. I do not shy away from the negative aspect of this. It is going to, unfortunately, put a lot of people out of work in terms of the middle class and manual processes that they've done for a long, long time. And if you're older in your career, it's going to be that much more difficult to change and pivot. However, though, if I can do it, if Rod can do it, anyone can do it if you put your mind to it, to leverage it in a different way to your advantage. And when I started speaking around this last year, it was just an introduction of education of what it is. And really, there was so many people in the audience that were disbelieved. It will never happen. It'll never happen. I said, I'm not here to debate if it will or won't happen. I try and learn from a lot smarter people than I try and look at trends and where this is going. And I would understand and have empathy for the audience in terms of we live in absolutely crazy times. Parents are asked to do more and more for school fundraising and things of that nature. So they're spread even thinner. And then a certain degree, a lot of people have lost hope. And which means if you lose hope, they're not putting in their effort at their job. So my message was take an hour on the weekend versus watching Netflix or whatever you do and record your screen as you're prompting different things. And we, of course, would send them a prompting guide, would start them off in terms of a persona, task, things of that nature. But start using it. However, to your point earlier, why it's not working, quite honestly, so many leaders just thought it was going to be the magic bullet. We'll use AI. It's going to fix everything and we're good to go. They missed such a component to it in terms of they would first have to identify the problem they're solving, to your point. Also, so many organizations don't have strong standard operating procedures.
Right.
The only way AI works is if you have your tasks, your triggers, your stages, and what that person does in their job. And now as you run, we do this all the time because we're building out agents, of course, for clients of ours. You take a job description that has 4 paragraphs, and then when you run it through our LLM that we built, it kicks out maybe 4 tasks that person does.
You broke up. When you feed those 4 into your, and then it broke up. I didn't hear it.
We have a tool where we take someone's job description within the industry. We'll run it through the model to identify the actual tasks that person is doing. For example, in our world, credit app comes in, a human being used to key the application into the system. Well, now there's a task agent that does all that for that person.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, the accuracy rate actually increases when you leverage the AI. So that goes back to the retraining. Now we have to retrain that person because we don't want to displace anyone to a different.
Okay, hold on. Yep. Stay right there. Okay, so you're right now you're talking about you're going back to training. So whoever was keying in that information for the credit app is being retrained for something else while the AI is now doing that, correct? That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, because it's become so much faster.
Okay, sorry. Let me just finish my thought, though. I'm sorry. In that, though, and it's going to affect lawyers. It's going to write SOPs. AI is doing all of that. So there's AI and there's OI. There's already all these other ones we don't talk about, like for maintenance and all that in manufacturing site. But you have to train that agent, right? I mean, you talked about retraining of the person, but that AI agent needs to be trained. And the more it gets to know you, in my case, gets to know me, it starts building a rhythm that is me. You know what I'm saying there? In other words, it gets better as you train it more.
I know exactly what you're saying, and people don't realize that they can actually change that in their memory in their open AI. You're able to go in and personalize that. So for example,
Yeah.
if we're working on a project that I know we're no longer working in, I'll go in and clean out that memory so it never references it again, and it understands, no, actually we're going in this direction now. But back to the human, right? I really want to focus on the human. This is why it's important to have entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs is, so say if that person was a self-appointed entrepreneur, they're going to be excited now that they're not doing manual key labor. They're actually now going to be looking at the output of that credit application and then helping it facilitated that much faster in terms of maybe what bank they're going to send it to or what funding source they're going to send it to. And they can become more strategic and look at different things, as well as provide that feedback back to the organization, maybe on any friction that is in the customer journey that used to be manual, but now we're leveraging the AI.
Sorry, I was a little slow on my click there.
That's okay.
I'm listening to what you're saying. Like I told you before, when I pop off, you're in the green room. I can hear you. You can't hear me. But the reason I was slow at coming back is because we're not quite at these questions yet, because we're still in that intersection between the AI and the human. And your point being well taken, and the rest of these, a lot are really leaning into your 2.0 program and some questions about how did that get, how long did it take to implement, how quickly did you start seeing results, that kind of stuff. We'll get to those. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying now is and it's a logical fear, because one of my grandbabies, I do a show with her on Saturdays. She's 16, high school sweethearts, my second son and daughter. So we do a show together called Insights and Straight Talk with Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod. Cute name, I love it. But every Saturday we talk about the evolving, same thing here, of the educational system. That's really needs to evolve. Mm-hmm. But then when you're talking about so I have another granddaughter. She's 2 years old, and her mom, in other words, my daughter-in-law's mom, right, her grandma, and I were talking on her first birthday party a year ago, and we're across the little island in the kitchen together, and we were talking. We got onto AI discussion, and this is what scares the death out of most people. All jobs are going to be eliminated. It's going to be done by robots and AI. And the other thing is they don't understand it. So what she does, she just wants to bury her head in the sand. And you're not going to not thrive. You may not even survive. Mm-hmm. So the fear that's natural but untrue is the workforce is going to change, and you got to change with it. But other than that, it's going to be different types of jobs, probably better jobs. That data input stuff, I can't do that. Yeah, I hate doing the prep work for setting up the show with you. I love doing the show. This is the part I love. But I'm a one-man band, so AI is a big help for me. And go on.
It's a huge help, and that's the exact way to look at it. And I do have empathy for someone that says, I want nothing to do with it. I completely understand. With that being said, though, you're going to have to find something to do from a living perspective that's probably a manual type of job where a human is still involved, and that's an HVAC for now anyways, HVAC and plumbing, blue collar jobs, which are much needed in the United States, and making
good money.
They're making
good money,
great,
and
life.
They're not going to get replaced.
They're not going to get replaced. So I have two boys, hockey players, as you can see in my background, 31 and 26. I saw that. They both this summer accepted coaching positions at colleges to coach hockey.
Nice. Wow.
I was ecstatic about it. Thank you. I was very proud dad. That was a dad brag. Proud dad.
Yeah.
However, long term, I was excited because at the end of the day, AI cannot replace strong leadership. You will always need really strong, good leadership. Now, do they use AI? Heck yeah. We're building them all kinds of tools for scouting, for analysis of puck movement through video, but they know how to use it. So the people who are trying to stick their head in the sand and ignore it, figure out a way how you can use it. And don't think of it as AI. Think of it as a co-pilot or a tool that you're able to use, just like, early on, a year and a half ago, people say, I don't believe in it. And I would joke around with them. And if it was a buddy and we're having a beer, I'd say, I bet you still wash your dishes and don't use a dishwasher. And I bet you probably ride a horse here versus a car. Just poking fun, just due to the fact of these tools that are out there. And we could go on and on and on around different tools. And then, of course, typically they pivot and they want to start drilling down into how it works and really getting technical on you because they want to push back. And I would typically say, do you know how an airplane works? Nope. I have no idea, but it goes in the air. It's very similar. And by the way, we've been using AI because if you're on Amazon and Google, you're using AI. You just aren't aware of it.
Google, great point. My son made the same thing. He brought that up. He said, Dad, Google is AI. Google's been around for decades, right? It's the earlier AI. Salesforce used to have Pardot, which is really freaking expensive, but it does the AI kind of stuff, or actually more automation. When an email gets clicked, it sends another email, or it said, it goes through that automation.
The automation of the drip emails after if someone reacts and things of that nature. And that's what attracted me to AI, because having that entrepreneur mindset, doing more with less, you had to really be look for alternative processes or alternative tools. So like, for example, I'm a terrible speller. I was using Grammarly 10 years ago. I look for anything that will help me in my weakness or something I don't want to do. And that's what led me to AI and the power of that. The other thing is that the cost of these tools continue to come down tremendously.
I told you, Salesforce, just the Pardot, just to implement it, not the $1,400 a month per seat that it cost of my 35 people in the organization. But just to implement it was $14,000 plus the seat, plus I had Salesforce, because you had to have Salesforce in order to get Pardot, and then you had to have so many seats at Pardot to whoever was going to use it. But that was $14,000 to do. Now I use make.com or I just started a new one, N8N. Do you know N8N?
Incredible tool.
That's a lot. It's way better than Make, by the way. It's way better than Make. Just started using it. I'm actually starting a trial on it. But now you're talking about fractions of a penny per digital thing you're sending out, right? Instead of $14,000 plus $1,200 per seat a month, right? Now it's 20, 30, 40 bucks. I mean, not that dramatic, but it's a lot difference in cost.
But Rod, the way we look at it, Lo, and you're spot on with that. Not only, and I don't mean to pick on Salesforce. Salesforce was an incredible CRM when it first came out. I mean, it was a game changer.
Expensive and over.
Yeah, but with recent changes,
built my company.
But with recent changes, unfortunately, they've shifted everything offshore. They're trying to leverage AI to run their business. And Mark, the CEO, has come out and said, we're not doing any more software development.
I know, it's stupid.
So that's where we try and educate business owners relative to these tools we can now build, or we can find alternatives which are better suited for you because they're specific to your industry, and or like NAN. All that organization does is focus on orchestration of agents and automation. Unlike Salesforce, who's trying to push that on you, but really they're a CRM company.
They are. That's what they are.
Microsoft's doing the same thing with Copilot within Microsoft. And I always chuckle when I'll talk to a CEO. Oh, we're using AI. Okay, great. That's all. How are you using it? Oh, we just deployed Copilot. Okay. I appreciate you.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of Copilot.
It's terrible.
Go ahead.
It's terrible. Microsoft Copilot is god awful. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I tell every
It's
client.
irritating to me. When I try and write an email, it always wants to jump in there. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that off because it interferes. It actually does more, to me, it does more harm than it, but I don't use it that much because I'm not a fan.
So I tested it because that's my responsibility to ensure that before I speak that we've turned it off. We will not have, we don't have any Copilot running on any of our systems at all.
Oh, you can do that? You can turn it off completely?
You can go in and turn it off and suppress it for now. However, it's interesting how Microsoft works. It's back on. It's like, I didn't
It's Microsoft.
It's Microsoft.
It's Microsoft.
So you have to work through that. But I really want to focus on the aspect of the tools now that entrepreneurs and business leaders, as well as yourself as a personal, like my wife has built some tools relative and my wife is a non-tech person. However, she got tired of me talking about it nonstop in all these conversations, and she leaned into it. And now she uses it and's built out different apps for herself, for her own personal life. And that's the cool. There's a company called Lovable.com, Lovable.com. Lovable is an absolutely incredible tool. If you just wanted to start there and forget about OpenAI and Claude and the other tools,
what's it do?
Lovable will build you an app by you just conversially prompting it.
So it's like the training of an agent.
Well, it's not training of an agent, but for example, if you wanted to build a family calendar that you that you could host, and you could actually take an example of a Google Calendar, snippet, put it in Lovable, and prompt it talking to it. I would like you to build a calendar very similar to Google. Here, we're going to have 4 people logging into it. We would like it color coded by each person. You're building the software, and then you watch the agent behind that's been trained by Lovable build it, and then up pops the website in the tool. Now, it's not that easy. It sounds easy. I'm making it sound easy, and you can able to get the MVP or the POC and have it pop up. Now that's where you need the technical skill to tie it into a Notion or
hold on. MVP, POV, what are those terms?
MVP is oh geez, now you're gonna put me on the spot because I use them all the time. Proof of concept is POC. Right. Everyone should run a proof of concept, and that's our ABLE framework. You analyze the problem. That's what we're identifying, a problem in the organization. And it can be a small problem. It can be, we were really focused on customer journey problems. We wanted to take as much friction, and that was our North Star. And if we were able to do that, our customers would come back over and over and over again, as well as refer business to us. So that being our North Star, we were really operations and journey focused, and the team drove a lot of this. Going back to intrapreneurship, 75% of employees in your organization have great ideas because they're in the trenches every day, but leadership doesn't give them the vehicle to be able to share those with people and share it with the leadership team. Guess what? Right now, if I was running an organization and I've dabbled with AI, we're trying to do things, I would ask each employee, tell me what the top 3 things that you do on a daily basis that take you the most time. And we're not trying to take work away from you to displace you. What we're trying to do is take those manual processes out and leverage the tools now that are now available so you can do more strategic things and work on the business and not in the business. E-Myth.
Oh my God, that is, the more we're talking and the way I talk to a lot of different people about, or not a lot, but quite a few different people about AI and this bridge that we're on from yesterday to all the tomorrows. Yeah. And you hear different conversations and different descriptions and different analysis of how this thing will go. But the way you're describing it really is kind of bringing it even closer together for me and people listening, because you use the dishwasher example, and you used, if you go over the light switch and you flip the switch, the light comes on. Do you know how all that works? No, but it works. And that the jobs aren't going away. They are evolving. We may have some sort of a downturn in the economy because there'll be less and less people working for a little bit till the shift happens. But when you're saying what you're saying, you're putting it in a way that is just natural evolution, from horse to car, from in the sink, now wash tubs or dishwashers. That didn't lower people needing to do those jobs. It just made the job easier and more efficient and take less time to do, so you could do other things. That's how we all need to look at AI. But it's like learning German right now is the only problem. Is we got to just talk about it more. And for the uneducated, for the educated, I'd say your age and below, it's probably pretty comfortable. A little bit.
It is. It is. It definitely is. And even a year, again, I'm putting bookends on the year because we're coming up to it. And the conversations from last December to now are completely different conversations, which is fascinating, as well as it shows you the change of pace. We've never had a technology that has evolved and been leveraged to the degree that AI is now. And AI is such a big word, right? AI is like the word technology. Okay, we use technology.
Right.
Well, what part of technology are we talking about? So when people say AI, it's everything from prompting to now agents to data to leveraging your data. And there's so much that goes into it. The data is a key point. So as you're building out your agents, you have to have a knowledge base that educates your agent what it's doing. And if that knowledge base is not structured correctly, that's when the AI hallucinates. So that's when people say, oh, it hallucinates, no good. Well, unfortunately, I applaud you for taking action. I applaud you for building it out. However, you didn't research it correctly or hire someone to help you with that, because after they teach you once, and that's what I love about this, I can teach people or an organization how to do something, and then you just duplicate it over and over and over again. Now, the technology might be changing on the front end. However, how it reads the data, there's only 4 or 5 ways, and they will not change.
Right. And at the end of the day, we really need to understand that an AI agent is like an employee. You've got to give them the right instructions, kind of like what we're talking about now.
Let me give you an analogy. Let me give you a great way for people to understand this. If you were to walk down to a coworker's office and you asked them to do something, and when you walked away, they did not have a clear understanding of exactly what you asked them, that's it. And when you really I drive my wife nuts because I've told her I've become very, very literal in the way that I communicate with people. Because if you're using AI a lot, like we do, you're driving these agents for different tasks, and you have to tell it specifically how to behave.
Yep.
So there's no gray area.
And what can happen there? You talked about I forgot the word that you used.
Hallucination.
Sometimes it can go into hallucination, and once that happens, it's because, like you said, you didn't do the right research or whatever. You didn't know how to ask the question. Like, I'm trying to write something, but I don't really know what I want. I know what I want, but I'm not clear myself. You're passing that on to another employee, like you said, a coworker down the hall or whatever. And then you get into a rabbit hole with that. With AI, you could sometimes go down this rabbit hole that has nothing to do with what you really wanted to do, but it only is feeding back to you what you're feeding it, right?
Here is, if all the viewers take away one item that you can implement if you're leveraging AI, is after every third prompt, you tell the LLM to reground to the original task. Because an LLM is built to continue to advance you. And that's why it comes back with 3 or 4 things. Do you want to do this next?
Right.
I've gone down that rabbit hole. Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go. And it doesn't work. And all of a sudden you'll end up at a place that's like, I did not want this. This is not what I wanted. So that's why we actually now embed that prompt in our agents, where it always reverts back to the task every third interaction. And now we saw our outputs become extremely tight on the original task that we're asking it. So again, we use 3. We're still testing it to ensure that 3 is the right number. Some of our engineers think that maybe it could be 4, but we're regrounding back to the original task. And it's a simple prompt of, please reground yourself back to the original task and provide an output to that, how you've advanced. And it'll say, it'll actually compliment you. It'll say, thank you for that. We need to reground. And then
it's funny. It's funny when you get complimented by your agent, isn't it?
I'm polite to it. I've had people, because I'll say, if I'm communicating.
I've cussed mine out.
I've done that too.
Oh my God, so freaking irritating. God damn it, where? So
of course I collaborate with my engineers, because I'm not an engineer. I'm far from it.
You're a money person.
Yeah, and they'll laugh. They're like, "Oh, you got into it last night with your agent, huh?" Because I'll be same as you. I'm like, yeah, but I've learned now, and I would highly advise this to people as you're using these tools, especially in OpenAI. They are pushing new updates so fast.
They are.
Sometimes you're in AI and you're trying to use it and it's just not behaving the way that you're accustomed to. Get up, walk away, go do something else, go read a book, go back to something you can do, draw out your SOPs on a piece of paper, because that is just OpenAI pushing something. Until they get it pushed out, you're going to have those challenges. And I don't have an answer for that other than just do the fact, again, because we spend so much time in OpenAI specifically, we can see the changes when they're doing that. And we're like, oh, that's cool. For example, projects. Are you using projects in OpenAI?
I have not. Depends on what you mean by projects.
So on your left hand, on your left hand in your OpenAI, you have your GPTs that you use.
Yes.
Then there's an area for projects. What projects is a folder that you're able to have everything contained and separated from everything else from a project perspective, that you can add an instruction to what you're doing in that project, as well as you're able to have all the threads, those are your communications, in the same project, and it doesn't get messy.
Yep. Yeah, I've got it. I did not start off that way, and I use it constantly now. But yeah, I do use that now, and it does help a lot. And what it also does is it, like you said, if you didn't clear that out yet, it has the memory of all the stuff you've done on the other, you got the project name, 50 characters or less, and then each one underneath of that for a different guest that I'm creating something for, right?
Exactly. And here's the other thing. It
learns off that.
Here's the other thing, Rod, that again, I applaud people for using it. However, it was interesting when they rolled out 5.1, a lot of our clients, when we would meet with them during the week, would say, yeah, we're using 5.1, but it takes forever. And I say, really? We own that. We should have educated you of what 5.1 is. 5.1 is a reasoning model. It's not like 4.0. So it's going to think and spin and ensure that it's giving you a good output. And now 5.2 is even more so in terms of its reasoning.
Yeah.
And 5.2 and 5.1 too, if you do not prompt specific, it will think for 15, 20 minutes and you can actually watch it the way it thinks. If you've never done that, you should do that, because it's fascinating in terms of how.
You mean the code?
The code.
The code. You can look at the code.
Watch your say the person has asked us this. Does it mean this or this? And it starts going through all the different things that it's meaning. And then it'll come back to, well, we've arrived at here. And that's what I'm saying. If it's not a clear prompt in 5.2, the model will not operate or give you an output. So that's where the prompting comes in around the task that you're asking it. Gemini is a wonderful tool just to put in thoughts of what you're trying to achieve. And it'll
Producer Barbie likes that. She likes that. I've never used Gemini, but Producer Barbie uses that, and she says that's pretty good.
Yeah, Gemini is
what you're talking about.
Gemini is perfect for that. Gemini is a great tool to leverage to take ideas, to put it into a prompt, and then you take that and put it into 5.2 in OpenAI, and then you'll see the reason.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting. Hey, a couple things here.
Sure.
One, do you have we've already been going 50 minutes. We haven't even really got started yet. I mean, it's just flying by, and it's very
Love to
interesting.
come back.
Okay, love to come back. Good. That was one. Two, do you have a hard stop at all?
I do at 12:45. I have to be somewhere by 1:00 my time, Eastern.
So you're an hour ahead of me. So you've got about 25, 30 minutes,
Yes, sir.
less than that, but somewhere in that range.
Mhm.
Okay, good. And then next, before we head out, I do want to get into how, when you're working with a CEO, I'm a small, tiny little company, but everything we're talking about, my mind is clicking and going, hey, I could use this to go to the next level, to be more efficient than I am now, which is 2,000% more than I was 2 years ago when I just started using AI. I want to talk to you about that after a little bit. But first, let's get into. Oh, go ahead. What?
Well, I was just going to say, Rod, and that's really my philosophy from day one was you can do more with less. We can serve more clients with less, and we're going to give them a better experience.
That's what I need. So before we get off, at some point between now and then, please leave your contact information in the private chat, because you know what happens in a month from now, a year from now, an hour after the show's over, somebody's going to come on and go, damn, I wish I would have been able to ask RJ this. And if they leave comments, which I want you to leave comments on the episode, like the episode, leave comments. But, that may not get answered for a week, a month. I don't know, whenever I happen to pop on and look at the episode or I get a notification. Whereas here, perfect. You got your website and
email.
Team at, that's your email.
And
right?
Well, I have a personal email. The reason I use Team
I
is
saw that.
if I'm off-site at a client, I want to ensure we're responding accordingly to that person, because a lot of times people are working in the model at that time, and if they're like me, I want an answer right now. What am I doing wrong, or how can I fix this? I would love to answer the first question, or the question here. What is the?
I was just getting ready to do that. Go ahead.
What is the very first AI workflow you chose to pilot?
Yes.
That is a question to ask yourself, and the way that you ask yourself is, what is a task that I'm doing in my role in the organization that takes me the most time?
That's what you said.
That you can leverage AI. In my world, we started right at the beginning of the customer journey in terms of the credit application that would come in. We built a task or an agent that would be our intake for the credit application that would map it into the CRM system, read all the data through what they call OCR. And you're going to ask me what OCR is. It's parsing of the document, of reading the data to assure that it's being aligned properly within our CRM system. That's one task. But really, you need to self-reflect back to what you do in your organization. And again, ask yourself what takes a lot of time that we can mend, or we can build automation into that. That's where I would start.
That's exactly it. You want the biggest time killers to be hit first. I mean, that's the biggest ROI, right? The return.
But you just don't go from, oh, that's a pain, let me go into AI. That's where AI comes in. We're going to analyze. You have to articulate what the problem is. What do you want to build? You have to discuss. What are the pain points? We want to build something that takes care of this, and this. Now you've defined that. Okay. Then we build. Then the execution piece is don't want to use this word, but unfortunately it's part of nomenclature, the dashboard, to understand how that agent's working, to ensure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. That's the governance piece, because so many people layer AI and it doesn't work. Well, again, you didn't build out the proper process for what that agent is doing relative to the task.
So what does your service look like? What does Able look like? So I'm coming to you we're going to have a conversation next week or whatever the case is. And I say, all right, I need some leadership help here. Not for employees, just for my agents being the best, most efficient, most reliable employees or agents to do the half a dozen to dozen different things that I need done on a daily basis. I write for the column here in the newspaper. I have 3 subset stacks, and then I do 6 shows a week. So I need, all the stuff that's not fun. I love to write. I've always been a writer of poetry, books and stuff. So, maybe I'll have them clean up some tone. I've even taken what I have, said, I want it to stay the same, but I want it to lean more into this. And it'll make those tweaks.
Oh, I did it in front of an audience. I did it in front of an audience relative to the exercise we did. We built out a tool for an organization to scan, and again, there's mixed views on this, but this is the world we live in. Scan resumes as they would come in, and then rank the candidates based off of the resume. And then the next step of the exercise was twofold. One was to send, to the bottom candidates that we filled the role. However, this was where the power was. We were able to prompt the AI to ask specific questions based off the person's background on their resume as the first round via email. So as we were working on that email to send to the applicant, we changed one word, aggressive to humble, in terms of that candidate. Is this a candidate we really want? Or is this a candidate that's on maybe the third choice? How do you word that email? And it was amazing in terms of the difference. And that's when people said, oh, yeah.
It changed the email that you sent out. You didn't change it. You changed one word, and the bottom half of the people got different output email than the top half of the people.
Correct.
That's what it did the change.
It did the change.
Okay, now you got to really tell me, what does us working together look like?
Well, primarily, I'm going to start with the foundation of what you have today, what tools you're leveraging, like you mentioned, NAN, and then there's a discussion around, do you want to learn how to use these tools? Because that's a different education track. Or do you want us to build it for you, or a combination? Okay, RJ, we want you to build these 3. I'm going to work on this task myself, because eventually everyone's going to be able to build these tools, leverage these tools and build them themselves. That's where will all end up. You will not need an RJ or you're going to be able to do this. Now, I say that, however, I use the analogy of cooking food, right? Anyone can cook their dinner. However, restaurants do really, really well because they just want to show up and eat. Well, that's the same thing. They just want the tools to leverage. The other thing specifically right now, Rod, which is so important, because I live this every day, and I had buddies, 2 years ago, oh, the AI guru, I'm like, I fell into this because I made a decision to leave corporate America. I had a passion for it. And because you're busy running your business every single day, you don't have time. And there's so much noise out there.
There is.
And then, oh, by the way, when you're looking at a new tool, vet that through us. And we can tell you what we believe, and we'll do, because we have engineers that can look at the tech structure, the tech stack, and cut through the sizzle and the BS that people are selling out there to say yes or no, or this is how we would structure it, or guess what? We can build it for you. Those are the conversations that are meaningful. Now, the other thing I would ask you, Rod, is, are all these processes that you're trying to automate documented?
What do you mean by documented? I know what documented means, but what is that? How does that structurally look?
For example, what is the next step after this podcast today? What takes place?
The next show. I shouldn't say that. I'm doing my Monday Substack.
If you're writing it, are you posting that now to Substack, or does automation where you hit a button and the automation automatically sends it to Substack?
That's what I want to be done. I have to go through 4 or 5 steps to have it sit there so it then can go out on Monday for Substack. But it's a lot easier than it was, but no, I don't have, that's where I need to get. I need to get to a point where, let's say a guest comes on, you know this, that comes on Matchmaker FM and says, hey, I want to be your guest. So I send out a booking, right? And then you accept that. At that point, there should be a process that grabs that. I'm working on Calendarly now, so I know it can be done, where it grabs that, sees that, it scrapes it, sends it to the next module, and then an automation comes out. And I need that email to go out, and then when they reply to an email, the next email that goes out or confirmation or whatever, I know it can be done. That's what I need.
And it can be done. And that's exactly what we're talking about. What happens though, people try and build all of that into one agent and it'll never work. You have to have proper orchestration back to the task that it's that you're looking to accomplish. I'm guilty of it. Our first agents, we were trying to, let's take this whole process and build one agent to do it. It doesn't work. And that's where it would break. So that's that's one reason why people are struggling it. But the real reason is people didn't take the time, and I'm defending people because it was just being thrown at them at such a pace. And a lot of people are like, we have to use this. We have to figure out how to use it. And then they call someone, they come in and would sell them. And I'm not saying broad stroke that it's all bad. However, if someone's walking in saying to you, we need a 3-year contract to build this off of a SaaS model, run. Just say, no, thank you. Appreciate it. You're not the right fit for us. And now in defense of the person selling it, why they're doing that is they understand that this technology is going to continue to come down in price. And there's going to be new tools every single day that are going to be specific to maybe your industry and or the task that you're doing. And they're just defending, they're building their moat. That's all they're doing. You look at Otter AI and all these transcription services. They did that exactly, where they would lock you in, blast out emails to everyone in your contact list. They were trying to build a moat to make it very difficult for you to get away from their product. I built my own Otter AI that's now in my ecosystem that I can map accordingly and have the automation work properly versus hoping Otter AIs. And I'm not here to pick on Otter AI. Great tool. I've used it. I have it pulled up right now. I continue to use it from a database perspective of former calls that I had.
Wow. So what you're, at the end of the day, I can literally have a series as far, whatever I want to accomplish, but in the what we just talked about, I could have we could work together and your company could build a custom agent that is specific to doing the best job at this function that Correct. I need within my company.
Correct. So I'll go back to equipment financing, because again, that's where this all started. We built the task agent of the intake agent. Now we layer the task of the review agent. That review agent is almost like a human that will go in to ensure that everything is mapped accordingly, that the credit application is attached in the CRM, that the dealer, it's a verification. Then after that task agent, it kicks to the next agent, which will now be the credit reviewer. That will pull the credit reports, go out through API to the different reports and pull them in. Well, originally, Rod, we were trying to build all that in one. And that's what a lot of people are doing. And it just doesn't work. It breaks.
It doesn't.
Because it's trying to think and do too much.
It's sloppy or it's missing points, because like what you just said, it's trying to do too much. It'd be like, one human trying to do 15 jobs at the same time.
Also, your APIs, when you build your APIs in the automation, there's what they call APIs and receiving APIs. So they're and again, all of this is becoming extremely easy. I am not an engineer, no stretch of the imagination. However, if you understand how to think about, it's a large language model. It's built for conversational prompting.
I like that. That's exactly that, and that's the way things are going. I do have one automation where on my phone, I leave a voicemail into, I use, what's that? I'm sorry, I just went blank on it. I use Telegram. So I pull up my Telegram and I leave it a voicemail, and then I've got this automation that when that voicemail hits, that there's a receiving, and then it sends it to the next one that then starts building images, and because it sends out, it uses what I said and makes it better because of the agent has been trained over the last year and a half. I used to take my dogs out for walks and want to send some social media out. I do a 3-minute-ish. That's about the right, too much more, and it gets over and too little, and it's not enough. So I send like maybe a 3-minute voicemail, which is very easy to do, as you can tell for me. But then 15 minutes later, or 15 seconds later, on my X, I have one that's geared towards X. On my Instagram, it's geared towards the audience of Instagram, which is totally different than Facebook and LinkedIn. So boom, that's an awesome.
Let me ask you this question, Rod. Are you doing different end user personas for each?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's
absolutely
critical.
That's the reason I did it. You know how much you talked about saving time? I love doing the social media stuff. That's all awesome, and editing videos and all that. But I could only do so much of that. Now I can do that conversation and send to all of my audience. I have an audience of the teenagers because we have Regeneration School Project, about 30% in that teenage up to 25-ish. We've got that 35 to 45-ish. And then actually one of our smaller is 55. We've got a good group in there, but they're a little bit less, involved because they're not into podcasts necessarily and all that. Right. So each social media has its own audience. I mean, I watch all of them, and you probably watch all of them. So there's a little bit of difference in there, but 90% of the people who watch Instagram are certain audience type.
And right? what the listeners can take away from that is if you're in sales or your go-to-market strategy and you're calling into a specific industry, what we do is we built a tool where we'll go out, scan the website, the LinkedIn of your end user that you're calling on to build out your persona so you are talking the way that they want to be talked to. Yes. And
they always talk about it in business, it used to be kind of a racist thought. People, the old boys club, that whole thing. But especially as we've gotten more sophisticated and more this and more that, at the end of the day, still people, I'm in sales. I grew up in sales and marketing. That's what I am. And the biggest thing that I learned early on, which really brought very good sales results, was as I'm sitting down in a meeting with somebody and we're talking, Jim Rohn, I don't know if you ever remember him.
One of my favorites.
So body language, right? So you lean into somebody. When you lean back and they kind of lean forward a little bit, you got it, right? You emulate the words they use, the inflections, not to be fake, but you just kind of fall in to be them, and that's what you're talking about with the AI. In doing it. I need that. I need that because I don't do it really well. I need somebody to make it do it better. And then, by the way, send an email afterwards or something.
Well, let me give you this one. So we have a tool also. And again, I'm not here to pitch tools. I'm just giving you examples because you can build.
No, I'm asking for them. I want these.
Well, you can build these tools yourself. Imagine a tool in your Outlook. When an email comes in, the tool scans your emails with that person, your correspondence back and forth. And when you log into your Outlook or Gmail, there's a draft for a response based off of the incoming email now that you can edit before you send.
All right. You and I are going to spend, you and whoever at your company are going to spend a little bit of time together, brother. Let's get it. I know you got a little bit of a hard stop, so I don't want to push you too hard. And I'll answer the rest of the questions that we may not get to, but they're giving us their time, right? Okay. I mean, 500 people have given us an hour and 10 minutes so far. And they're here because they want to be, obviously. There's a reason for it. But it's at the end of the day, I still got to respect their time. So everybody will get their questions answered. But Adam here, let's start with Adam. Let's pop a couple of these off in a row. Because all I want to talk about now is my business and how you're going to improve it. That's all I want to talk about now. So I got to behave.
Rod got a free consulting session. That's brilliant.
That's the most beautiful thing about my work, my job. I 6 days a week, I get free advice from people that charge big money for that kind of advice. So let's go on to Adam here. How do CEOs avoid pilot purgatory with AI projects? And you heard me when I was opening this up. I was, dashboards are an enemy to me because they're so useful but so unuseful. The information isn't. There's too many of them, and also pilot after pilot after pilot. CEOs, they want something that's working now. Let's get going, or they get frustrated and say, "Scrap this. We got to get the business profitable." How do you answer Adam's question here?
We tell every single CEO, the first conversation I have with any CEO, any C leader that's reaching out to us is back to how confident are you in your SOPs relative to the task associated where you're trying to layer AI onto that. If that is not answered, we do not move forward until that is completed. We can help you complete that. However, we could give you the tools for you to do that in-house before we get to the AI conversation. And or if you do have them, when's the last time you reviewed them with your team, back to the entrepreneurs, the team members, to ensure that that is your solid process? Because so many companies will try and leverage AI, and then all of a sudden they'll say, well, that really isn't the process we do. Well, that's the way it was documented, but they didn't update the document.
Yeah, that's huge. This is one I've been saving. I was going to wait till the very end, but I think we're getting too tight for you. But Clay here, selfishly too, how long did it take to see real results from Unify 2.0?
We saw that in 1 year. And the main driving source behind that, I use this as a metaphor. When I joined Unify in 2013, what we had was an amazing location for a restaurant. However, we did not have an identity. So if you came in, Rod, for dinner, we would serve you anything you wanted and made sure that when you left, you had a great experience. If you wanted a steak, we'd serve you pizza, Thai food, sushi. We made sure we served your needs and would come back. However, with that, you can't scale it. So we had to go through an exercise with our 2.0 to identify who we were internally before we went externally. And that took 6 months leading to that. And then we launched that in January of 17. And there was our word, we read a great book called, I think it's One Word. It's an easy read. It's a wonderful read. And everyone in the organization picked one word for themselves for the year. And then we picked one for the overall organization that we could rally around. That word, as crazy as it sounds, was no. And the reason why it was no is that we were becoming very fine-tuned in who we were, what we wanted to do. And out of human nature, we get off, there's no guardrails. But with those guardrails, we focused on, we're going to be a damn good steakhouse with the guardrails. The no was a guardrail to keep us honest and keep us who we were. So as the rest, back to the restaurant metaphor, we became a steakhouse with a little bit of seafood. So we wanted to attract everyone that wanted a great steak, because we already had the service down. The service was built into the culture. The people were already. Now it was just fine tuning that, and that's that leverage part, and then executing upon who you are, and then that's the able part, which is the continuous cycle of always. And it's just every quarter, analyze, build, leverage, execute of every process and task in your organization. And when we became just focused on being a steakhouse and a seafood, our business grew again another 30% in 1 year. And then it just can continue that process. And it's discipline. I'm still guilty of it. It's a muscle I have to train all the time, the shiny object, right?
Right.
And the other thing, when the team that you're building and they get used to seeing the same thing, like your chef, He knows he could do a beautiful steak in his sleep. Where before pizza, oh, I got to learn how to do a pizza. So you become more efficient. And then your customer, from a customer perspective, you're giving them a better journey and a better product, and they continue to come back. And guess what? As they continue to come back, now you become a premium. Now you can start increasing your margins because they're so embedded with you. Now you're charging probably what you deserve, right? Not overcharging, but what the market, bears. And now you're able to do that. So we're able to increase our profitability because we're able to increase our margin because we have raving fans that were loyal to us.
So that year you started seeing results was actually less than a year because you were learning who you were for 6 months.
Well,
or was that before?
That was before. So I took all the data from 2013 to 2016. And this was before AI. So it was the old spreadsheet data points of analyzing it, feedback from the organization. We went through an organization, almost back to EOS of asking, what is our identity to you? Because we wanted feedback from everyone. Then we also went to our customers and asked them, why do you work with Unify? What do you like about Unify? What don't you like? And then we took all of that data as a group to make a decision of who we were. And then that's when we kicked it off at our national sales meeting, January 2017. The other component of it is back to the no, we started saying no to things that were distractions before. The key component to that, Lo, is we ensured that we had a place to refer those customers to and not just say, no, we don't do that anymore. We would say, unfortunately, we do not offer that any longer. However, what we did is we vetted these 3 other people that do it. Here's their contact, allow you to make a choice. We didn't just leave them high and dry. We wanted to do the right thing and take care of them. And again, now when they're back in our wheelhouse, who would they think of? Unify.
Yeah, because you took care of them. Your whole at that point, I would say a lot of people would just say, "Hey, sorry, we don't do that anymore." Good luck, man. I appreciate your time. I thank you for the old days, whatever, and be about their way. But just doing that simple thing, which doesn't take that much effort, because whoever those 3 are, they're going to be the same 3. I mean, once you get the 3 out of the way, then anybody.
Here's also the ancillary advantage of that. Those 3, if they come across something that doesn't fit in their wheelhouse, but it fits in our wheelhouse, it's a win-win. Again, you have to have an abundant mindset. You can't have a scarcity mindset. You have to understand that there's enough business to be had out there. Go find your little niche and just do it extremely well.
Yeah, I like that, brother. I like that a lot. Real quick, I know you're probably right on the edge here. I just want to make sure. I want to ask you one more question, if I could, before you go. But is that the right? That's the right email. I mean, website, right?
Yes.
On the screen. And then this is the team email, correct?
Correct. Or if you just Google RJ Grimshaw, I want to answer that one question real quick. What is the
which one? This one?
That one.
That's the one I want you to answer right there.
I want to reiterate this over and over again. The biggest mistake leaders make is not understanding how they want to use AI. And the next piece is, what problem are they trying to solve? So many people start with a solution. They get it's going to do this, but they forget, it's really not a problem. And they don't build out the fundamentals also. But SOPs, make sure you have great tasks, great SOPs to leverage it. And if you're just starting, take any document that you have that you use and prompt it, please analyze this document. It is a document that outlines our SOP for this. Please point out any areas that we're missing as well as enhance it. That's how you can start using the AI. You can talk to AI to outline your SOPs. We take transcripts and build SOPs, and then we'll put them into, graphs. And there's a great tool called Napkin. It's a wonderful tool that makes diagrams and charts and flow charts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And one last thing, Notebook LM. Are you using Notebook LM?
I do not even know what that is.
Notebook LM is a wonderful tool that Google built. Google did the research, and our conversation for podcasts, this is how people like to learn, a conversational piece, not just a book, an audio book. I love audiobooks as well.
Right.
However, Notebook LM, you can take any YouTube video, any content, any knowledge base, put it into Notebook LM. It will make you a podcast, a video, infogram, FAQs, project maps, all for free. And here's the other thing you could do, Rod. You could take all of your
You said Notebook
Notebook
what?
LM. It's a Google product. It's free. Notebook LM. You could take all of your podcasts as well, run them through, and then you could put automation from the content and have that go out to the different providers as well, where you're greenfielding your data.
That's what I was just thinking. That's all, dude. We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna definitely have to talk, folks. This is a great resource. This is why we do this show. I mean, to have this type of mindset that allows us to get information that we normally wouldn't necessarily have access to. And so everybody give RJ a big hand here. Any last comments you want to make before you go about the rest of your day? Give us a big wave and send us off into the blue skies.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about business owners. I'm very passionate about people that want to just become a better version of themselves. And what's been cool for me on my journey with this is because I was so early in AI, I've been exposed and built relationships with people that, quite honestly, I should not have relationships with. I'll give you an example of that. I've become good friends with PayPal's AI researcher. I should not be friends with PayPal's AI researcher that we text back and forth, and I'm bouncing things off of her. So and what that does for me, it helps build my knowledge base so I can share that out.
Well, man, thank you so much for this day, for this moment, and for the future conversation we're going to have. And hopefully with 100, 500, can't believe this, an hour and a half. And well, it's the subject too, obviously. And honestly, it's good to have somebody who knows how to communicate as well as you do, because it also needs to capture and contain somebody's attention. The subject is there, and then you add to that a beautiful conversation and very intellectual descriptions and complete. And I really appreciate that. I honor that. It's my life now, communication, or it has been for a while. But so I honor that and I respect that. Like you said, you're passionate about owners and people being better at themselves. I'm also passionate about the transfer of information and how easily or difficult that could be to be received. So
I love that.
Bless you, brother. Bless you, brother.
It takes two to have this conversation. So kudos to you. You're an amazing host. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day. I appreciate it. We'll hook back up, or do you? I'm going to take probably 5-10 minutes to close this down. Do you want to just hook up later instead of?
Yeah, we'll hook up later. I got to jump.
All right, go jump. See you, brother.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm out. Bye. All right, there you go. Great show. Very patient man. Obviously needed to get going and didn't make me feel that way at all. So I appreciate that to him. I'm going to go on and I'm going to go through some of these questions. I don't have the expertise as obvious in this show in my interest in communication with RJ, but just a great resource here. I highly recommend, because I'm involved in this day in and day out. But to get to some of these questions here, let me hit with Faz Rott. Can the ABLE framework work for small or mid-sized teams? So I don't know this answer, but I do know this answer because I probably asked him about the same time, RJ, about the same time you wrote this question. And the answer is yes. I mean, I'm a very small team. I'm me. So my team is the agents, is my automation. I've got a couple of people that I work with. That's not totally true. Producer Barbie and a back scene stuff and does a lot of stuff with me, and COVID and a couple other people that I work with in some of these things that I do. But to answer your question, yes, it can work for small and mid-sized teams. And what it can do is it can make those small and mid-sized teams act as big, strong, capable teams beyond what the team is yet here still today. So I hope that answers your question. At Landrick, JR, Junior Landrick. What does human in the loop look like in real operations? I don't know that answer, dude. I wish we would have been able to get to some of this stuff. That terminology I picked up on, but human in the loop to me, and I don't know if this is right, what he's calling out there. And we were just going to get to this because I'm curious about it too. Human in the loop to me means that you've got a human being correct in the communication with the AI agent or the automation agent, in the loop, being knowing what your expectation to solve is. As we just talked about at the end, beyond that, I'm really kind of trying to make things up here because I know it obviously makes sense, but it's a catchphrase that I'm not utilizing at this point. And we will have a follow-up show to this. Let me move on here to Ichel. Which departments usually benefits from AI wins? Well, AI I would say the biggest, and we kind of alluded to this today. I think sales and marketing are the two teams that would benefit first from AI because it's able to put efficiently and effectively results out into the marketplace that are appealing, professional. And as we talked about just a minute ago, RJ and I were talking about, people want to do business with people who are like them. So it can change the communication or the presentation of the product or service or whatever you're presenting. It can change that and adjust that to be more towards the audience that's going to be receiving that, whether that be to teenage girls or middle-aged black men. I don't know, different. You can send that message out and then go into that language with something that the teenage girls can be familiar and comfortable with more than say hi, right? So I would say without a doubt. But I mean, there's also, you talk about regulations, writing SOPs. You talk about taking in and doing database entry stuff or analyzing a contract. All of those are big wins. But to me, the biggest ROI, that ROI is all about efficiency, reducing errors or mistakes, and having the turnaround quick enough so that it's not taking up more time from the organization. That's a great ROI, but comparing that to being able to spend 20 cents on a thing that goes out and gets you $50,000 in business is a really nice ROI too. What surprised you most during the $14 million to $250 million growth? That I don't know the answer to. That's a really good question though, Dirk. We're gonna have to follow that up with him in the next show, because that's an interesting question. I think what a good answer, what he would say to that would be, is how efficiently and effectively it happened without creating more chaos, actually reducing the chaos. I mean, shit, they went from 14 to, what was it? 14 to $250 million. And while doing that, they reduced their costs went down by 30%. So at 14 million, you reduce your cost of what it took to do 14 million by 30%. And then as you're doing that, you increase that revenue stream to 250 million. Pretty impressive. How should CEOs think differently about AI in 2025 and realistically in 2026? That it's an efficient, effective, important, and critical tool to build your business beyond what you right now as a CEO can even envision. That's the most important way that people should look differently at AI. I mean, my God, RJ made the perfect example. You know, I guess you're still washing your dishes and you're not using the dishwasher, huh? That's what this is all about, folks. So we've got the email address here. I'm sure folks are going to want to use that, and we've got the website here. And just to kind of finish up here, RJ's experience really shows much respect. So we're going to keep that on the screen. I like that. Stay after I do the outro with producer Barbie and I. And there's a little something I'll do. I don't know what it is. I never planned for it. I just, whatever hits my head and we happen to be talking about today. Because with that, the show is Insights and Straight Talk. My name's Rod Duff. I'm your host and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.